I have one little cute. I show you this picture
Okay.
after. He's a little curly-headed boy.
Your dog?
No.
My grandson.
Oh! I didn't know who you were talking about.
Okay, so we have to
I have a
pause.
grand dog too.
We have to pose for just a moment, or just sit quietly, because this is where she does her cut and paste magic. So, okay.
Hi there. Welcome to Hourglass Workshops and Conversations with Nancy and Cherryll. I'm Nancy.
And I'm Cherryll. And today we have the pleasure of introducing you to Kathy Winkelman. And she has a fabulous story that you're all going to want to hear about. So, first of all, welcome Kathy to our conversations.
Welcome to my casa.
Yes, yes.
And it's beautiful.
It
She
is.
surrounds herself with the most spectacular artifacts and artwork from Italy, and that's part of her business. So, before we get into that, can you tell us what you did before this wonderful thing?
Well, I was born in a big Italian family, the oldest of 8, raised with Italian tradition, very dear to my heart, lived next door to my Italian grandparents that were born in Italy, learned about the food and the faith and the way of life around the table, basically.
And you were born in the South Bay, right?
I was born in Hollister.
In Hollister, yeah.
Which is San Benito County.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Santa Clara to college, and there was an opportunity to study in Italy, which I had always wanted to do. I learned a little bit about the language from the family, but not much. And being the oldest of 8, I have a dear sister, and then I have 6 brothers. It was a great way for me to get
What a fun
into
family!
a life that I
Yes.
could kind of find out who I really was instead of the caretaker and
Right.
you know, all that. Although I can't complain about being a big family, I love it. It was in Italy my junior year that I made my business plan for this business.
Wow.
I was 20 years old. I found that the arts brought me great joy. And sometimes I would just walk alone. I lived in Rome. I was very fortunate, studied art history and the language. But mostly it was walking among the people and their, you know, traditions, their, you know, festivals that really, I think, struck my heart. And I said, I'm going to do this sometime in my life. So then we had 3 sons, and I was always at the ballpark with Cherryll.
Right, right. We go way, way back.
And so when the youngest son of 3 was ready for college, I just talked to my husband and said, I've always wanted to do this. And so this business was created with a dear friend of mine who I worked for in the travel business, which also kept me going back to Italy, back with the family all those years in between. And so this business was created in 6 months.
Wow.
And with my friend Lee Marie, who was like a mentor.
And that was how long ago?
10 years ago
10 years
now.
ago. Okay.
This is
Awesome.
we've survived the Great Recession
Yes.
because I put this business in my home. So it's very Italian. You come over for lunch and shopping experience, or you come over for a class. We used to do many mask making classes. Sometimes we'll do 1 a year or something now if the artist is willing to do that.
And you're talking about the
Venetian masks.
The Venetian masks. I brought
You
over
did
some.
that.
Yeah, I brought over some longtime Italian women, friends of mine, and it ended up that Kathy, you knew the family,
Yeah.
and vice versa with Becky down in the Gilroy
Yeah.
area. Yeah, and then you did the limoncello
Limoncello
class.
class, which
Yeah,
was
limoncello
so
class.
much
And
fun.
one of the things when I walk in here, it just warms my heart. It's so
Thank
beautiful,
you.
it's so rich and full, and you do feel like you're stepping back.
You know, you feel it because these things are made by hand. They're made by people who are passionate about what they do. They never retire in Italy from what they do. They become masters, which is a wonderful model. We should do that here.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they're masters. Their glass blowers are masters. The
Well, you
inlaid
know,
wood makers are
That's
masters.
what I learned from the limoncello class when we were talking. I had no idea all this beautiful pottery was hand done. I mean, I just thought it was like here, mass produced, but it had the Italian look.
No, they make it's hand thrown
Mm-hmm.
pottery, and you should see the ages of the masters.
That's
I
so
visited
wonderful.
them recently, about a year ago. In the first year, Lee and I went to Italy twice, once to the north, once to the south. I started with the people that I knew from my school years. I just was always a connector person. In those days, we'd write letters If I
Yes.
ordered something, I would get it probably 6 months later, but I never worried. I knew I would get it.
Mhm.
Now I can sell something to someone in London from Sorrento in my pajamas on my phone. That is phenomenal. It
That's
is-
wonderful.
It is
Yeah, so you really brought
incredible.
Italy very close and
It's,
connected.
it's
Yeah.
that's been the benefit to
Yeah.
me, practicing the language and connecting with my friends there. I wanted to help the small artist family that maybe can't sell big to the United States.
Right.
And then those factories are a little bit more mass produced, but I just really fell in love with the people and their culture, and I wanted to do in my small way what I could do to help them to sustain this art. Because my motto is joy for those who give and those who receive. Lavoriamo sostenere la gioia nella vita.
Oh,
We
that's so
work
nice.
Yes.
to sustain the joy of life.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a passionate job. Can I make a living on this job? No. Not the way I do it. Someone could if they devoted 100% of time to it. But for me, it's joy. It's joy for me. It's joy for people who decide to come over for lunch and shopping. Sometimes we do a lot of, well, not sometimes. We always do nonprofit work where groups will come over for lunch or dinner, and I donate 25% back of the sales for that day.
Wow.
And it's a lovely way to do business. I worked in nonprofit for 20 years while the kids were in school, and so I have sort of a heart for the nonprofit, heart for the small family business and the artisans, heart for nonprofit. And for me, in this business, it goes well together.
Wow.
You want to talk a little about the earthquake relief that you're working on right now?
Well, I think most people know that right on the border of Umbria, Lazio, and Amarca, they had this terrible earthquake, 6.2, which we've experienced here in Los
Right.
Gatos,
Yes, we have.
and did have quite a bit of damage, but they lost lives, 300 people. The whole town is gone, which
Just
was
disappeared.
a medieval
Yeah.
town. And they're struggling so much. The saddest thing to me that I hear from my Italian friends is that this was the time of year for the Amatriciana Pasta Festival. Spaghetti Amatriciana, which is their, signature. Every region has a food, a festival, a saint, and this was their regional festival. So a lot of people were in town for that.
Oh.
And they were also in town to visit their grandparents' children before they went back to school. So it's a big tragedy. And I encourage donations made to the National Italian American Foundation. I posted a link in my recent website, which you can find on our website.
And we'll have all that information on Hourglass website. It's in the newsletter, and you'll find it in other forms as well. So
I also put a beautiful video there it's a tourist video for the area of Amatrice, Accumoli, and that area of mountains is beautiful in the Apennines. And in doing research for my recent newsletter, I found that this region naturally had 2 shallow lakes. And the lakes have been drained and the water diverted for thousands and thousands of years.
Wow.
And they have had Lazio is where Rome is. It didn't really cause damage in Rome. It was felt, but that region, if you study history, had several huge earthquakes, which contributed to the fall of Rome, actually. And if you go in
literally and figuratively.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
It did fall down. But anyway, I recently visited Domus Romane, which is right near the Roman Forum. It's an excavation site, which I've always been curious about. And you go underground below a Renaissance villa, Piazza Valentini, and you can actually see where the earth during the Roman era collapsed. The road just goes on a diagonal down. That really hit home with me, especially when we have this earthquake of today. And anyway, they need a lot of help. They don't know if they're ever going to rebuild there. So people have lost not just loved ones, but their businesses, their homes. But I also recently read that they excavated all the historical documents.
Oh, good.
So at least the history of the town and its people are recovered.
It was
3,000
stunning to see the
documents.
pictures of how everything just crumbled.
Yes.
You know, and a reminder that these buildings are so old with such history, they don't have all the infrastructure that we have to
Right.
sustain,
Right.
you know, get through something like that.
This is the first time I've heard the Italian people talk about building with wood
Oh, really?
rather than stone.
Oh.
And of course, this is one of the negative things about the Italian culture is the greed and the, you know, the diverting of funds.
Yes.
Mhm.
And this is really being investigated at the moment because a lot of those buildings, including a school, were recently built. And they
Oh.
were supposed to be retrofitted.
Oh.
So I do follow things like that.
Wow.
The joyful as well
Right.
as the
So,
sad.
so kind of going back, how can people, well, one, get a hold of you, you know, as far as events and the like, and just participate in your world? And also, how can they possibly, you know, contribute, if they so choose, to the Italian area and the people there, in order to sustain this and be able to bring this beauty and joy to us?
Well, the name of the business is Gioia. I tell people besides pasta and pizza, you'll learn a new word.
Uh-huh.
Gioia, spelled Gioia, pronounced like Joya. That's the name of the business and it means joy.
Okay, Gioia.com?
GioiaCompany.com.
GioiaCompany.com, okay.
Yes.
And
And-
you offer, to bring this experience to people, you offer, obviously we talked about classes, a boutique. What other types of,
Well, monthly for 10 years without missing a month, except when we have the festival season. August, I don't do in-home parties, but I offer come over for lunch and shopping at Gioia once a month. And if you add your name to our mailing list, which you can do on the website, you will get an invitation. We're located in Los Gatos, in my home. So, you know, we have people sometimes travel from Santa Cruz, San Francisco, Hollister, where I grew up. And I welcome you. We have lunch together. We celebrate the tradition of my family. Usually I use some recipes from my family or from Valentina's cookbooks. And you know her well. She does the limoncello.
so if you're looking for a family that you can join,
Yeah.
that's fun, festive, and great food, this is the family to join.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of pan over some of her beautiful work here, and I'm going to let you talk a little bit about, at least it was my understanding that every area has kind of a theme to
It
theirs.
does.
Okay, so I'll let you talk about that, and I'll show what you have here.
Okay. Well, primarily
Turn it off first, turn it off.
If I turn it off, oh, okay.